AskReddit by Cool Coast 7853. What is the most rich thing you've seen wealthy people say do casually? My friends bought a house in Palm Springs, but the renovation was taking too long, so they just bought a second house in Beverly Hills to live in during the renovations. They kept both. A relative bought a house in Malibu Colony, right on the beach, to live in while their Palisades home was being remodeled. Then they told me they kept the Malibu home because it was just easier than driving back to the Palisades after a day at the beach. Pay USPS to keep the local branch of their post office open. It had been selected to close, so they didn't have to drive as far to go to the post office. That's more along the line of calling the congressman you own and getting a few strings pulled. My dad knows a billionaire who had a French chateau disassembled and reassembled in the US. He acted like it was just as normal as building a house. My dad's been there a few times and said it's an insane property with a huge man-made lake and huge sprawling lawns. I went to a guy's house one time that has been a church in the UK. Apparently it was going to be torn down, so he had it shipped to the US and then built a modern house around it. Stunning home. Going to their apt in the city so they have a place to hang out in between shopping at stores. Their apt is only for that purpose. There's also a bougie name for it, Pie de Terre. Was at a bar with a multi-billionaire CEO of the company I worked for. He made fun of Oprah for only having one jet, then went on to tell me to never buy helicopters because they are built by the lowest bidder. Planes are the better choice. Bob, my car didn't even have air conditioning. Larry, I'm on DuckTales. So I work part-time at a strip club and we have some very rich clientele. Some of them come in all the time and we get to know a lot about them. They get to know a lot about us. Well, one of our security guys died of a sudden massive heart attack. One of the rich clientele just called the funeral home and paid for everything. Like there was no second thought. We were all taking up a collection to help a bit and he just dropped the whole bill just like that. I mean, I see a lot of really rich behavior, but that one was just so mind-blowing. Aleo, one of the most kind examples here. RIP to the security guy. Probably a hard job to stay healthy in. It was from an 8-year-old. My very wealthy friend got remarried and her son said he wouldn't mind staying with me while they went on their honeymoon. As we took our seats on the plane, he looked so confused. He sheepishly asked, "Who are all these people on your plane?" "Oh, my little dude." Interested in how the rest of his visit went. I used to work at a jeweler and the stories are endless. Clients would talk about how they just got back from a months-long trip on a yacht or some exotic island. I'm just like, cool, I put in 60+ hours this week and have worked every day of the week, lol. The shit that I wouldn't get at all is the watch guys. I had a client come in one time and ask for the cheapest watch we had, so he didn't have to worry about it on his trip. He ended up going with a $800 watch, not the cheapest, and while I was checking him out, he said he was going to throw it away after the trip. I tried talking him out of it and just said return it afterwards, but then he seemed insulted. Other watch guys would pay $1K every year just to get a little scratch on their Rolex that only they notice buffed out. I'd explain to them that they are shaving precious metal off every time and ruining the integrity of the watch. Boo. Insightful because those people consider even expensive luxury items totally disposable. I once saw Jeff Bezos pay $100,000 to get a guy off the stage at an auction event. The guy on stage wasn't going to leave until he reached his goal, and Jeff was tired of listening to him. By Felicia $. I completely misread that. You once saw Jeff Bezos pay $100,000 to get a guy off? Story checks out. There is a large liquor store near me. They have very expensive bottles in the back room. One Christmas I was standing in line. The man in front of me had one case of wine, 12 bottles of various variety. The checker said, "Okay, that will be $27,455. WTF. Guy hands over his credit card. Followed him out, drove away in a Bentley. Still wasn't very nice of you to steal that guy's Bentley. My soon-to-be mother-in-law asked me and my fiance, her son, if we knew that some people don't have reliable transportation to get to college, which causes them to miss class and or show up late. Apparently, her most recent appointment as the chair of a teacher education program at a university has been very eye-opening for her. Oh lord. This is not going to end well. Contactor here, lady did not like the shape of the pool at the new house, gets the job to change the shape. Does the job. So I tell her we can guarantee the workmanship for 5 years, but not any longer. She says cool, we are only here for 3. I once stayed at a place that was $10,000 a night, amenities included. Luckily my health insurance paid 90% inside met my deductible. I see you two have stayed at Hotel Arspethal. The head governor of my high school was a millionaire and would occasionally show up to have meetings with staff and or parents on how things were going and where he could better invest in the school. One of these days he shows up and finds a kid crying by a vending machine because he dropped his £1 coin and it had rolled underneath. Governor opens his wallet, gives the kid a £10 note, and wanders off. The vending machines only accepted coins, so the very confused kid was a lot richer but still no closer to being less hungry. This guy my father knew had a really nice house and was owner of a garment factory. My father did okay for himself. He has a big apartment in Nick with 4 bedrooms. This dude went to my dad's house. At first he asked where the rest of the house was, then he told him his closet was bigger than his house. He wasn't lying. We went to his house. His gym had like 40 different treadmills, rowing machines and those body by Jake band machines. Also, the walk-in closets were in fact bigger than my dad's bedrooms. His son had almost every game for every system. 15-year-old me was in awe. Every system in order, nearly stacked games across a giant wall and a huge projection TV in his wall. Last time I heard about him he was at my dad's job. This guy was my dad's boss, asking for $98K to go on vacation. The accountants were pissed he asked for it on short notice. Side note, this dude smoked joints at meetings and came in his house clothes to meetings. He would interrupt meetings to order pizza or sandwiches for everyone else at work. He was hilarious. Everybody in the office looks professional and he's in sweats with a joint eating food. I had a friend of mine casually ask if I wanted to go to Dubai for a week to do some skydiving training in a couple of weeks. My response was no, I have to work for a living. Blew my mind when they asked me like it was no biggie to duck out for a week and blow $15K. Casual, spontaneous international travel really is a hallmark of the super rich. Someone once asked me where I summer. Using summer as a verb is a sign we are not in the same tax bracket. Yeah, I'm lucky if we even get to take a 4-5 day vacation in the summer. We don't every year. This isn't as extreme as most of the stories in this thread, but my in-laws casually have Chicago Cubs season tickets and attend 70% of their home games. Not so crazy, except that we all live in Nashville. I come from a very poor family, so the first time I learned that I was absolutely blown away. As a Cubs fan, this would be one of my ultra-rich luxuries. Season tickets, and an apartment in the city for a place to stay. I live not far from an old, now abandoned, castle in France. It was bought decades ago by a Chinese couple. They had the staircase taken out and shipped to China and just left the place and never returned. It's been neglected since. Wow, I'd love to know which was it. What an insult. I witnessed a guy park in a bus zone in front of a meter maid. They told him he can't park there. He told them have the towing company park it for me. I'll have someone pick it up later. If the punishment for a crime is a fine, then it's only a crime for poor people. It's not a crime for rich people. Get stressed from a true crime podcast and book a tropical getaway to decompress. I daydream about that kinda stuff. Went to a wedding as a +1 at a mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, the bride's parents' home. Her father was talking about the landscaping and how his wife liked a rock, which was about the size of a small car, that was at their other home outside of Denver, so they had the rock moved from Denver to Connecticut. Seriously, they moved the rock halfway across the country. A fucking rock. This is the best. I won't feel rich till I do this. Had one of the outside salesmen drop in and we were talking about clothes for some reason. He said he donates his clothes to charity every year so he doesn't buy the very expensive shirts. His shirts are $300 each. Then he tells me he does buy decent shoes though. He showed me a company online where most of the shoes cost more than my car. How do we work for the same company and live that differently? Ever wonder how important sales is to your company? Don't. Couple booked out a famous landmark venue for their wedding years in advance. Just before their wedding, the venue owner asked if they wouldn't mind changing the date of their wedding as a wealthy couple wanted to use the venue for a birthday party. Nah, we've got everything organized, we're good. They will pay for your wedding entirely if you change the date. Thanks but no, it will be a pity to change the date. They will buy you a house and pay for the wedding. So what did they do? I watched a guy walk into a car dealership and buy a Suburban. He literally walks in, goes up to a sales guy, points to the one in the lobby, and goes, "I'll buy it. I don't want to haggle or any high pressure bullshit. I'll pay sticker and I need to be done in 10 minutes. He was driving it out of there 10 minutes later. I asked the other sales guy, "Who the fuck is that?" He goes, "He owns a bunch of fast food places, Pizza Huts and KFCs and stuff I think. He comes in every few months." "What does he do with the cars?" I asked. "Sometimes trades even in, sometimes signs them over to friends or family members. He gave our secretary his old Corvette. Said it was about to die anyway. Only had like 50k miles on it. She still has it, been 3 years.